Well, hi, it's Jerry with I Love RV Life, and we're continuing the history tour of Nashville. And we're at the Carnton House. This is in Franklin, Tennessee, south of Nashville, maybe about 30 minutes. And this is an amazing tour of life in the 1800s. A very famous battle, they call it the Battle of Franklin, occurred here during the Civil War. Basically, this was the final battle of the Civil War that changed the tide of history and ended the Civil War. So there's so much history here, and we were able to tour the house, but unfortunately no pictures from the inside and no video. So we have that happen so many times on these tours, but we are able to see the grounds on the outside. I'll take you through that. So this house was built in 1826. It was about 1,400 acres, a very, very large farm. Not a plantation. This was not a cotton plantation here. This was basically a cattle farm, which another rarity that you have during this period of time to find something like that. So there's some outer buildings. We'll go ahead and take some more looks. I'm going to turn the camera around and let you see the house. It's quite spectacular, of a federal period house. And if you like this type of history, I hope you'll stay with me and see some of these great pictures. It's really neat. So again, I'll show you the outside of the house. Again, this was John McGavok's house. Stayed in the family for about 2 or 3 generations. You can actually see in the floors when we went upstairs and toured this. You can go up the upstairs, and please bear with me, but you can still see blood stains in the floor from the 600 plus soldiers who were actually treated in this home after the battle, because the battle occurred throughout this whole area. Look at all these old trees and so forth around the grounds here. It's quite amazing. But this is the house. This is the actual front of it. The way that things would have occurred then, you see the old cedars. You would have had the driveway here that people would have come up and gone into the home from that period. You can see the back porch. It's located here as well. I'll walk around to the back porch and show you that. But the walls are 3 brick thick. Isn't that amazing when you think about that? Oh, I wish I could show you pictures from the inside, because it is quite spectacular. But look at this place. Isn't that something? Beautiful, beautiful old home. This is actually the, are you ready for this? This is actually the back porch. Yes, that's correct. There's your back porch of this. Isn't that beautiful? And they would come from the outside in the hot summer months and enjoy the cool breezes. Beautiful old home. Sorry about the traffic off to the back side. All these old homes from the 1800s had their prized gardens. Look at this. Isn't this something? It's the end of February. It's 76 today. We're seeing a few things starting to bloom, but this is one of those prized gardens. Isn't that something? Quite pretty. I can only imagine what it's like in the spring and the summer when it's in full bloom. Now, interestingly, you're going to see a space here on this side of the house. The original home that was built in 1800s existed in this space here. I want you to notice something kind of unusual here, and you'll see the old well, that the deep well that was dug here, and that would have been in the kitchen. Isn't that something? And you can actually see the foundation of the old house that was here, and it was connected adjacent to the smokehouse. All these homes during this period of time had a smokehouse. They had to have a way to be able to preserve their meats, and they did that through smoking and coating them in salt. How about that? I'll show you something else that's kind of interesting when you visit these areas where Civil War battles occurred, and I'll show you something that I've noticed here, I've noticed in Charleston, I've noticed in Atlanta, where you go to the old battlefields, Kennesaw, Chickamauga, a number of those others. Look at this. So if you notice the trees, all the trees after they go up so high, they're forked. If you notice, that one occurs there to the right side of your screen. Here's another one where you can see that the forks occurred. I'll move on along. These are the old trees that are probably, these things are probably 200 and something years old. If you notice how they go up to the top and then they start forking off at the top, that's a result of cannon fire, where back in the 1860s, all the trees were topped out. And as they continued to grow over the last 100+ years, they forked and just continued on. So you'll notice that. And this farm is just covered in those types of trees where all the tops have been blown out for where this extensive battle occurred. So if you notice, I will turn the camera around here in just a second, but as with anything with southern past, especially as you get into the deeper south, and you tour these old plantations and farmhouses, you do see remnants of slavery that occurred here. So I'll actually show you a home that's here in the back behind me, and it'll actually show you where skilled labor lived. So I think you'll find this interesting. Again, this is just the dark part of the history that we have in the past, but still very informative, I believe. This is actually the inside of one of the rooms, and you can tell this was a skilled labor room during this period. I apologize, we're close to the interstate, so there's going to be some truck noise, and you can actually see a very old clothing loom and spinning wheel. It was located here. This would have been the kitchen and the living quarters, if we're to believe this is similar to the way that it was set up during that period. There's actually rooms downstairs, but we're not able to go into those. So this would have been a 4-room brick structure. It's very windy today, I apologize for that, but as you look down to the bottom, it's in quite a bit of disrepair. You'll see the old spring that's down below, and there's the old spring house. Modern day, we call that a refrigerator, but that's where they kept the produce and things like that cool. Amazing. So if you notice behind me, or I'll just actually turn the camera around, this is the Mcgavock Cemetery. After the war, there were over 1,460 Confederate soldiers that were killed on the battlefields here. And what they actually did several years later is the McGavocks, the people that owned this farm, actually donated this land as a burial place for those Confederate soldiers. And I think there's a total of 1,490 grave markings here. Most have been identified, except for several hundred, I think. Others who passed after the battle many years later wanted to be buried with their comrades, and this is it. So I'll turn the camera around and just let you see how vast this area is here, of just how gruesome this battle must have been. Well, we're finishing up our tour of the Carnton House. It's been an interesting, a very interesting tour to see the old house. Again, I wish I could have showed you pictures from the inside. I encourage you, if you're in the area, if you're in Nashville, it's definitely one of these places. If you want to see old 1800s, early 1800s history, it's just absolutely beautiful. They've done a great job restoring the home and the grounds. It's beautiful. And again, you know, I'll make this statement that history and its physical appearance looks a lot different than its actual appearance, but still something that we can learn from. And again, just something that I so enjoy being able to see and experience firsthand. So Carnton House, you should go out on the website. I'll put a link down in the comment below on where you can get some additional information if you're here in the area. As always, this is Jerry, and I do love RV life.